board. So watch what you say. Welcome everyone to the Team People Builders and Friends leadership meeting. We are talking about Leadership U tonight. Now, many of our team attended the leadership event in Denver with Rob Hairston, came away with some nuggets to share, and the key elements that he brought to the forefront was how we view, how grounded we are in our vision, how we see ourselves as people, our identity, what we believe will show up in our behaviors and our action, and the stories we tell. So tonight, Patsy already gave you a pre-intro. I'm going to give you a little second intro for our recording, and that is to talk a little bit about Marcia and Darlene, who were attendees. They're going to unpack a nugget that they took away and applied, and then we'll have some more time to do some hands-on exercises to apply some of these leadership principles to your life, which will impact every area as well. And we'll take it from there. So with that, I want to bring Marcia up to share what she took away. Marcia, if you'll tell us a little bit about yourself, you know, your little isogenic story. Well, I'd like you to stand where we can have you on video if you're okay with that. You look fabulous, by the way. And and I want you to, one of the things I appreciate about Marcia is her willingness to always jump in and assist and bring training and relevant nuggets to the team, and as well as her daily practices. I really appreciate that about you, Marcia.
Yeah,
so look forward to hearing what you have to share.
Well, I have to be totally transparent. I only went through my notes just today and last night, but I thought it was great. I thought it was different than I kind of thought it was going to be. I thought it would be more intense, but the nuggets that I got mostly were that we're all capable. We're all capable, and there is no there. We always think that we're gonna, well, when I get there, well, there is no there. When you get there, there's somewhere else to go, to grow, to grow, to grow. That I'm kind of look at my book, it's kind of my little highlights, but you know, and get through the principles. And I'm guilty of this. What do people think of me? I don't need to care what people think of me. I'm who I am, doing better in the world. And that's kind of my identity, trying to get to where I should be. And just, you know, everybody wants to grow. The things in your head kind of keep you from doing things that you know you can do. Vulnerability, you know, need to learn that, you know, the ego allows me to kind of bring myself down sometimes. You just kind of have to let that go. Because as one famous person we love says, ego is edging God out.
Yeah.
And so just, you know, value, appreciation. People are in it for the money, but yet we have to serve people. There's all kinds of different people that are, you know, in our journey. We have to kind of learn the different personalities and kind of just be able to be comfortable with that and to be of service to people, but also be able to grow ourselves. I don't know, just postures, you know, if you don't have good posture, you feel like you're inferior, people can hone in on that if you aren't confident. But like I said, I didn't go through maybe as much detail as I could have, but just to challenge yourself to kind of imagine, that was one of the things, imagination. If you imagine what you can be, you know, and write it down and really do your affirmations, have a little 3x5 cards, and carry them with you every day and really read them and believe that it will happen. I mean, and imagination is a lot of it. Just imagining where you can be, where you will be, believe it, and go towards it. So.
Well, Marcia, can I ask you a question? Then you can tell the rest. So do you feel like from the time you spent during the day and those little insightful nuggets, have you seen any behavior shift since then, or even the way you see things or you're interpreting things?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is the imagining, you know, the whole vision thing. That's kind of my vision. Imagine where you want to be and then work towards it, but visioning it all the time and having that on your whiteboard or whatever gives it more meaning, and on your, you know, mirror or whatever, to be able to just see it every day and believe it and kind of change my identity to be who I'm meant to be.
That's great.
So in the end, so it's work in progress.
That's for sure.
Can I add a couple of things? Just a couple
Absolutely.
of, you know, this morning we did some of us opted in for 6 weeks of continued coaching to try to implement this. And so on Wednesday night, we had a call that was just Rod, and he had some great things to share. But this morning we talked with the team coach, her name's Molly. And Molly had a couple of things that were real ahas for me. There is a difference between vision and goal. And she said, even in conversation with Jim Coover, Jim said, I envision a lot, and I've never actually reached my vision.
Ooh.
And I thought, oh, if that's the case. And she said, goals are the stepping stones to the vision,
Yeah.
which means I have to go back and redo the homework because all of my visions are stepping stones, they're goals. So I have to go back and
So
redo.
did that have a meaning to you that it was correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
That, because that's the other piece that I thought was so interesting. Our brains our conscious and our subconscious mind are so complex. And I'm probably more guilty of this than all the rest of you and Dennis and anybody else in the room, that as long as I'm telling myself, you can't do this, you're stupid, you're a waste, you're whatever, that's what my conscious brain brings in to wherever I go. Doesn't matter what my posture is. My brain just somehow sends out those pheromones. So in painting the vision, we tell our brain where we're going. I am the daughter of the King. I am the righteousness of God in Christ.
Amen.
I am enough. I am not creative like my mother, but I am creative in my own right.
Absolutely.
And so those are vision statements. I am a multimillionaire in isogenics. How I get there becomes my goals. And right over here is my map for Crystal Executive. These are goals. This is not my vision. When I get here, life is not over.
There's no there.
Yeah,
Right,
there
it's
is
not.
no there. And another thing I thought was really interesting is he said, it took me a long time to process this. I'm embarrassed to tell you that I'm probably the slowest processor of everybody there, Dennis. He kept saying, enjoy the journey,
Yeah.
enjoy the journey. Well, if your conscious and subconscious mind is telling you what a piece of garbage you are, it really doesn't make the journey very fun. But as I begin casting the vision for something different, it does allow you to begin to enjoy the journey. I'm not saying I've arrived. I swear I haven't. But I'm on the journey.
Woohoo!
And you're embracing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yay! So
Thank you,
I
Lord.
just wanted to say that about the vision and the goals
Right.
and the conscious and subconscious
I
mind.
know.
Yes, indeed.
I still
So
get
true.
confused about the conscious and the unconscious mind. Even after we went through all of that, it's still, I don't know, even my notes.
I know you
Like I
can't
said,
read
I-
this, Dennis, but I'm gonna
Actually, I
point to it.
showed it to him earlier.
Okay, well, we'll come back and I'll reiterate it as we go. But go ahead, Marcia, you were.
No, I was just
commenting.
gonna say, I feel like I'm a pretty smart, because even going through this, it's like, okay, but it just takes time to absorb it. I think it's to do it over and over again, even doing the healthy mind and body. It takes more than once to understand it and to kind of, there again, shift your mind.
Well,
know.
But also you are changing and your perception on what you learned
Exactly.
now
So,
is
Dennis,
different
I have
than
a
what
quick
you learned
question.
before.
Just a minute, Becky doesn't know what healthy mind and body.
Can you hear everyone around the room?
Yes, I can. Thank you for asking. I did want to ask a question, if that's okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
Go ahead. Ask
So,
away.
yeah, sorry. There's a little bit of delay here, so if I'm talking over you, I apologize.
Go ahead.
So back to what Patsy was saying, and I get that. For me, there's some areas in my life that are a big challenge, and I get that mental game going on. There's other areas that are absolutely, it's a dead ringer. I know I can do it. I always do it. do you guys have that too? I mean, is it, is, I don't think we're,
I
Go
want to
ahead.
talk about that in a minute after we kind of go around and finish that, because absolutely, you're absolutely right, Dennis. That's part of the journey, and these five points we use as kind of a self-check. We're able to always to assess what's happening in our belief system and our identity and our vision in those areas. How that aligns when we look at the things that we sabotage or we fall short of the mark, out of the benchmark we set. We can use this to assess with no judgment, because we are moving toward in the process of. So Marcia mentioned the healthy mind and body. We wanted just to explain for Pam and Becca what that is. So Patsy, do you want to, or Marcia, whoever's wants to give a quick synopsis of the healthy mind and body?
Go ahead.
Okay, healthy mind and body basically is 60 days. 60 days of kind of going into your back office, and that's where it is, and you sign up for it. It's actually $39, and then when you finish it, you get a $45 rebate to use coupon, so that it pays for itself. But it basically is going in every day, and they have you kind of, I don't
It's
know.
a daily coaching program.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
a built-in daily
Personal-
coaching
personal
program for
growth.
you to be able to look and see based on your goals, and it helps you get really clear on your goals,
Yes.
to actually craft your affirmations, to every day remind yourself. You actually get to go back and look at some of the things you wrote earlier in the 60 days, so you can go, oh, that's right. You know how we get going in life, we forget some of those things. And Isagenix has partnered with Growth U for this healthy mind and body to provide it for Isagenix directly through your online ordering system. So it's in your back office. You just click on the healthy mind and body. It's also available to people who aren't in Isagenix, and that's kind of a little known fact for those of us who are in the company, because it's still pretty new. We've only had it for about a year and a half, but it's available to our customers. And so it's available to people who aren't customers of Isagenix as well, and they can sign up through Growth U for the healthy mind and body, or through the 45-day challenge, or through any of the programs that both come through Growth U.
Awesome.
And so it's nice to be able to offer those resources when people are using another system or another, they're using Weight Watchers, they've got their own program dialed in, because if we don't master our internal game to align with actually what's written in our DNA, we will continue to run into those ceilings, right, and frustrate ourselves along the way.
And the thing I noticed too about it, it really, especially the first time when you're watching or looking at the questions that they ask, you know, it's just, oh, well, yeah, no, there is some deep thought. What am I gonna, what do I feel about this? You know, and you really have to really dig deep and think about it, which is good, because then you're bringing out things that are either bothering you or you want to do better. So yeah, I think it's a really good program, and that whole habit thing is for a reason. You know, so it becomes a good habit.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Habits that support your
Well,
goals.
and when you consider what personal growth programs cost, and you're not sure of their validity, this is a remarkable, I mean, it's actually less than free, because you're getting refund back and coupons more than what you're paying.
That's right.
But that's not what counts. It's what your the growth in you and the steps you're taking internally.
And they have
So-
videos like every other day or something, which is nice. And you
It's really
can
helpful. It's a well-structured
Yeah, it's very
program,
good.
and to run through at least the first time so that you can have the experience, so you can talk about it.
Yeah.
But so those are some of the tools. And then these leadership programs, which we partnered with Growth U for this leadership program, where we went as leaders and we gathered with other leaders. However, we will continue as our leadership team came back and debriefed. Betty, Patsy, and I debriefed and kind of unpacked, really in that understanding that our inner game, how we see ourselves, what we believe, what we're envisioning, and is it aligned with the truth, you know, to be able to work through in a very safe and non-judgmental place, to be able to say, and get the feedback from others in that same way. Because as Marcia shared from what one of her takeaways is that we're all capable.
Yes.
We're all capable. We're all capable. We're actually all wired to succeed. We are all wired to achieve, to move forward, to have impact, to have influence, to be in community, to have certainty, to have all of those things. We're wired. That's actually in our DNA. in different levels of preference. And so as we learn more to be ourselves, that identity piece, and be okay with being us, being okay with running our own race, that it creates acceleration. That I look at it as the broader, you think of a ship in the water that's moving a lot of water because it's a broad hull or a barge, and it can't move very quickly. But the more and more that we are aligned with our beliefs and our vision and the truth, we get more and more streamlined, more and more streamlined. We go faster, we go farther. And so, and together we can do that in community, we do it ourselves. But in this day and age, I say when I'm speaking or encouraging a group, is we are not wired to go it alone in this age.
Right.
Here forward, the guru mentality, the superstar celebrity, that era is gone, and in so many spheres. And so when we think about even your success track in Isagenix, as you partner with us as a vehicle, it's really about launching leaders. It's really about being you and seeing the best in yourself to show up, to bring out the best in others, to help people partner with this business model and in life. And in life, we are whole people. We are not just our business. And so some people who are coming in to improve their life through nutrition, that's great. Other people are coming in just to make a couple $100 extra so that they can contribute to the mortgage or contribute to groceries. But others who really find that this resonates with their core identity and their gift mix to bring to the world have partnered with this vehicle to be able to substantially build sound, strong, healthy businesses, because the model of Isagenix is one that multiplies and is leveraged. So that's let me just pause right there for a minute. And Dennis, I want to come back to your question, but I want to pause for a minute and just have everyone breathe. We kind of came into this meeting pretty quick. We scheduled this quickly. It's early here, Dennis, 4:30, so we all kind of came off other stuff. I know it's a little bit later where you are. But there's so much going on in our atmospheres right now. It's tax season. Dennis, I know you've got a farm that you're running. We've got pets, we've got kids, we've got job searches, we've got all kinds of things going on in our lives, right? And so when we begin to talk about our vision and our goals and who we are navigating in life, we can put this in real time in so many different spheres of our lives. And so if I were to ask you, or I have to have a drink of water in a second, if I were to ask you to think about an area that you would like to see yourself move forward in, if it's in your relationships.
Excuse me, I'm right behind you. Your sisters, so it's okay.
Thanks. Usually at my desk, I mute my microphone.
It's okay.
We're real people, Dennis.
Yeah, well, she got all choked up. It's so good that she just got choked up about it. Yeah.
That's funny.
Are you saying this is me being vulnerable? So let me get the statement out, and then I want you to write some notes. Step up so you can hear this on the recording. Think of an area that you want to advance in the next 30 days. Your relationships, your finance, your personal, your health and wellness, in your business. Think of an area, just pick one. You can pick one thing in each area, or you can just pick one area, one thing. Think about it for a second. Think about what comes to mind about why you don't advance in that area today. And make some notes about that. Think about what advancing in that area would look like for you. If you saw yourself advance, put your face in the future and say, in my relationships, in my future relationships, to advance those, it looks like this. I connect with my husband every day, and we have a significant quality time where we're actually being heard, seeing each other. I see you, I hear you, feedback. I touch base with my children regularly. My children are adults, so they don't necessarily want to talk to me every day, but that kind of thing. So being able to think about what's one thing that keeps you from that, or a couple things, and then what are some things, well, what's it gonna look like? And I'm gonna pause for a minute. Dennis, if you can take some notes, and then I believe this ties into some of your question that commented about those areas that don't seem to advance. So we're gonna pause for a minute for those of you that are watching the video. Do this exercise yourself, and I'm gonna go clear my throat.
You have water over there?
I do have water.
You're doing it in your mind.
That's right. Well, okay. Wait, do you see the penguins?
Oh, you know what I bet it is? I bet it's a candle.
The candles choke me sometimes.
Especially for the
I also think there's something in the air. Because I've been
All the trees.
talking as well.
all of a sudden.
And that's not like me.
I know all the trees are.
It's hilarious.
So let's pause and get some feedback. What's coming to mind for you as you think about that? Is that, what are some thoughts, feelings, or emotions that come up about this? And not everyone has to answer. I just thought we'd have a couple people that might want to be vulnerable to share, that we could kind of talk it through.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead, Dennis, go ahead.
Yeah. So I've got several things, but I'm going to just use Isagenix for now.
Okay.
There are areas in my life, for instance, running large multi-million-dollar programs at work, I'm very comfortable doing. And I know when I take it on, I feel successful before I even start it. So I already know that it's going to be successful, and it usually is.
Okay.
So I want that same level of mindset that's a given in this business.
Okay.
Yes.
I put down something called absolute assurity is what I wrote.
Okay. That's what it's going to feel like to have advanced in
Yes.
that area.
Yes.
Okay. That's great. So
Say the last word again. Absolute.
assurity. It's a word that we
That's okay.
may or may not
That's
be in
what
the
it
dictionary,
just
but it's a
popped in
good
my
word.
head,
It's
so,
a good
yeah.
word.
So
I just wanted to.
So tell me what that's going to look like for you. What does absolute assurity look like to you? Give me some characteristics that describe that destination, or describe that look and feel and sound of you being in absolute assurance.
okay, and I'm going to describe it in an area that I'm already good at, if that's okay.
That's perfect.
Okay. So like, I'll go back to where I'm at work. When I'm running these large programs, I already know we're going to be successful. I already know the things that I need to watch to be successful. And I set things up. I put people in the right positions. I do all of those things so we can be successful. In fact, in my mind, the first 6 or 8 weeks of that is the key parts of this. And then after that, it's a done deal. And I know I'm choking you up on that, but so, but I want to be in the same mindset there, that I just know that I know how to do it. And then I know when I start into it, I know what those key things are, and I'll work those, and I know it's a done deal in my mind before I even start.
Okay, so great. So I want to correlate that to Isagenix, because I believe that's going to serve everyone in the room. Would everyone
Yes.
agree that this is the kind of conversation that's going to help every one of you as we move into putting on our identity? In part, it's an identity issue. It's an identity belief issue. So we're talking about vision, we're talking about identity, we're talking about belief, we're talking about the behaviors that follow that, and the story we tell along the way, right? Those are the 5 key points we talked about in the beginning. And what I heard you saying is that you're assured of the outcome. You know what you're going to be able to do. So when you think about Isagenix, and you think about the elements, the activities the behaviors that will bring you that success, what are the thoughts around your mind about it? So let's pick one action or behavior that would move you forward toward absolute assurity in Isogenics. Pick one, and then let's talk about that and moving that forward. So it may be in the same activity you're doing in your corporate job, but we move it over to Isogenics, and let's see what stalls out or what propels in that particular area. Everybody,
There's a little bit of delay, so
okay. So does everybody, is that making sense to everybody? So Dennis, what I'm asking is, when you think about the absolute assurance, and you described it in your current role, is what would make up the gap between what you believe about Isogenics that would bring you toward absolute assurance?
I'm going to use a word called framing in my mind. I don't know if this makes sense, but in the context at work, I can frame everything up, and I know it's a framing problem. And what I mean by that is it's a setup. So it's not only in my mind, but then I set up the organization to succeed.
Okay.
And I know how to do that. And that's what I'm after, that I can do that same thing. Does that make sense?
It does. And so I'm just going to kind of shortcut the process. When you accomplish this in your corporate life, you had a period of time where you practiced a skill that you mastered, right? You practiced a skill you mastered. And if I had access to the chart pad where everybody could see it, I would write this out for you. But let me spell this out for you, and you can take notes. Rod calls this the cycle of growth. Earlier teachers have called this the cognitive learning cycle. And that is the 4 steps of accepting or moving into unconscious competence, mastery. And that starts with our first step is unconscious incompetence. We are unconsciously incompetent when we start anything new, right? Mm-hmm. We are in the vision stage where anything is possible. We dream, we paint a big broad picture. We are unconsciously incompetent of all the elements that are going to take to get us there, correct? So that's where we get some, pardon my language, but so we get some wild ass statements about all the things we're going to do and be, and because we are dreaming, perceiving we can do those things, all of those things, but we are unconscious about our actual incompetence. We haven't mastered some of those areas yet, right? So as soon as we begin, we start taking the action. Dennis, is what you've probably run into multiple times. I've started multiple businesses. It's the same cycle. And even setting a weight goal, same thing. You start to try to do something new and you go smack into conscious incompetence. Now I know I really don't know I am not great at this. I don't know how to do this very well. I'm not, and that's, so in Rod Hairston's model, he calls the first step of unconscious incompetence, he calls that inception. It's that dreaming stage where things get Inception.
Dennis, after we're done, I will send you a little picture.
And in the second phase, where we become conscious of our incompetence, I call this the distress stage. Rod calls it the deception stage. But it's in the distress stage, it's where the rubber hits the road. You had a goal, you started toward it, and you hit the wall because you don't know, you're not that great at doing some of these things. And so what happens then is you have all these thoughts come up. Well, it really proves the truths that you believe about yourself. Mm-hmm. You know, here I go again. It's another time to screw up. I just, you know what, I just can't, here's another thing I can't succeed at, right? But what will happen in a healthy growth cycle is that when we move from conscious incompetence to the third stage, which is conscious competence, we know we need to work on these things to improve. So we become consciously competent. We begin practicing. We take the activity again. We improve on the activity. We become. It's the same with an activity. It's the same with a belief. It's the same with a habit. We begin becoming consciously competent about a new behavior, a new way of being. And we call that the development stage in the model that I teach. Rod calls it
Transformation.
transformation.
And it is transformation.
So Rod refers to as transformation. And the more that you move through that development or transformation stage, you begin to move to the fourth stage, which is unconscious competence. You are doing the thing, you're doing the do without thinking. You're not having to go, oh, that's right. What's the thing I say first? What's the thing I say second? Pretty soon it's bing, bada, boom, bada, right out your mouth. Or you're at the gym, you're going through the motions. You don't have to think about, oh, that's right. How much weight? How do I hold my posture? You become unconsciously competent. I call that mastery. Rod calls that, sorry for the pause,
Leadership identity.
leadership identity. You become the leader. So you can see how we go through this probably multiple times a day. We think we want to do something, or we're trying to do a new thing. And in the beginning, we envisioned how easy it was going to be and how fun it was going to be, because we were unconsciously incompetent of all the elements it was going to take to do it, all the skills it was going to take to do it, all the time it was going to take to do it. I mean, think about, let's talk about, I promise I'm going to make 10 contacts today, right? Oh, that'll be easy. That'll be fun. I'm so excited. Just came out of this event. I just lost 10 pounds. I just lost 3, or I just whatever. I got so much energy. I could talk to 10 people.
Does that help, Dennis?
And so we go out and we
Yes.
begin talking to people. And we begin to start a conversation. They ask a question. We go, oh, and you know, we begin to either blather. Anybody do that? I still do it on occasion. So we kind of get that reaction of trying to answer the question or try to know what we don't know. And then we leave that appointment and go, I probably looked so. You know, you begin to have a story about whatever just happened. Instead of, as we begin to look at in a safe, non-judgmental place, to step out and say, one, I did the activity. I made a connection. I did it. That becomes the success. I took the step, I made the contact. Now let me look at the parts of the contact that went well. What went well? Okay, where did I feel like I could improve? Where could I become consciously competent? Where can I say, here's an area that I need to increase my belief in the product? You know, maybe they said, well, you know, I've tried some diets and, you know, they don't always work for me. And we say, we want to respond with, well, Isagenix works 100% of the time, right? But you have a thought running around your head that's going to influence your belief and confidence, and that's how you respond, right? If you have not had an experience with Isagenix yet, or you have run into a plateau in Isagenix multiple times, you may not feel confident to say, well, Isagenix will work for you. And so every time you hesitate, you go, well, and so your belief level goes up or down based on your experience, your knowledge, your skill set. So these are areas, the reason I'm kind of walking you through the little bits is because these are all areas that you can gain more knowledge or truth about. And to me, truth is always the ultimate plumb line. What's true about this? What's true about this? Is it true that Isagenix will work for everyone? What do we know? Isagenix is food. And it actually works for everyone in multiple ways, because you don't have to use the whole system, quote unquote. We have a variety of solutions. So Isagenix can work for everyone. You might have to modify the protocol. You might have to, because it's food. What do we do when we go to the grocery store? We modify the protocol because some stuff we like the flavor of, some we don't, some our body works better with, right? So once we get over that and we get our belief level up, we have an experience, we borrow someone's belief. You know, we've watched other testimonials, we see that it's working. We borrow their belief to level 5. Well, then we begin to say with confidence when that contact says, well, does it work? Absolutely, it's food.
Mhm.
We've got a few things that are science behind it and our approach and the concept behind Isagenix to really help people fuel from the inside out, to renew their bodies from the inside out. There's a couple things that really set us apart from a premium core product that they put together to synergistically cleanse your body from the inside out. But let's talk. Tell me a little bit more about what if nutrition could change any area of your life, where would you start? If it could change an area of your life, where would you start? And they say, well, you know what, I want more energy. I want to lose some weight, or you know what, I don't know.
I have a health issue.
I have a health issue. I've got these medications I want to be off of, or whatever. And we remember, it's not a medicine. We're a food company, so we've got our disclaimers about that. It's food, and good nutrition has been known to help people adjust some of their medications. However, that is not our claim. This is food, and you would talk to your doctor about that. But we begin to have a level of belief about having conversations with more certainty. So what are we doing? We're going from conscious competence to the unconscious competence as we move through the stages. We become aware. First, we don't know what we don't know. Then we begin to know what we don't know. Then we begin to implement what we do know. And then we become unconsciously competent. We begin to walk in the truth of what we know. So that was just an illustration of the product. The same applies to the opportunity. And so one of the things that will happen in a new business venture, Dennis, is that we continue to expect, and I'm a testimony of this as well. Patsy and I were just talking about this yesterday. I had a lot of success in other companies, came into Isagenix and expected that same kind of success to follow me. But a couple things about that really require, you have to learn the culture. You have to learn the solutions. You have to learn the process. I had to learn that in other companies, but I assumed that I could immediately jump it over to Isagenix. And what I found is I went right into consciously incompetent. And so I kept trying to find a place where I was in mastery, did those things for a while, but at some point you have to come back to the foundation of what do I believe about the opportunity? What do I believe about the company? What do I believe about myself? What else? Company, product, opportunity, product. Did I say that?
Yeah.
And myself. So there's 5 things.
Network marketing in itself.
Oh, network marketing as a business model in and of itself as a profession. And when we begin to look and see at every activity that we want to participate in terms of leading yourself, leading others, sharing the product, you begin to be able to see where you are in that. Are you unconsciously incompetent, consciously incompetent, conscious competence, unconscious incompetence? So you move yourself through the process. So Dennis, I'm just going to suggest you, because you've already proven that you're able, you're very capable. So to say, let me just take apart the process and see where I need to up the needle in the activity. And in this leadership event, there were a couple things. One of the things I took away is that when we look at our identity, the identity as a leader, your identity as a leader, because we're all leaders, even if whether we want to pursue Isagenix as a business model or an income stream, or whether we just want it to impact our life, we're leaders. And the world needs more leaders who can think clearly, who are comfortable, grounded in their body and their identities. And nutrition can do that for you, because as it detoxes your body, it actually detoxes your mind. I don't know the science about that. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, but I only know in my testimony it works. And as we look at how we are leading ourselves and leading others, to think about what are the characteristics of that leader. And am I being who I am as a leader? So as we went through that exercise over the weekend, and I realized a leader who's been exposed to Isagenix for the 4 years that I have been, and more because my mom's been in almost 15 years. And we've seen the testimony after testimony of of having the good nutrition in your life. Kurt is coming home from Israel, all the conversations that we've had about different things. If I were the kind of leader who believed that Isagenix was a business model that others could partner with successfully, if I acted and walked in the fullness of my identity as a launcher of leaders, if I even parlayed on all my experience as a business coach over the last 20 years, helping people increase their profit, do things like that, how would I be different? How would I engage people differently? Would I engage them from a place of confidence or doubt? Because I've been engaging people about Isagenix with a little bit of doubt, because I was harboring a little bit of a sliver of, not everybody. Well, some people make more money than others. So I let that belief system kind of resonate as a doubt. But when you begin to put on your identity like a jacket, I call it, and you say, you know what, I'm capable. I have proven, by history's proven, that I'm always a learner. And I know who I am, as Patsy said earlier. I know that I am the righteousness of God in Christ, and I am called and equipped to run my race that will shift atmospheres and will impact people. Now, does that mean everybody's going to join Isagenix? Does that mean everybody that I impact is actually going to do the business? Or no, but it means that as a leader, I show up every single time. So my conversation with my Lyft driver, my conversation with my host the night before I left Denver, my conversation with my seatmate on the train, I determined I was going to begin to implement showing up with my identity on, to be sensitive in the spirit to their need, to the conversation, to the pace of the conversation. I wasn't on a mission to have 5 contacts and have these kind of conversations, but to show up with my identity fully on. No stress, no. So my question for you is, what would it look like tomorrow or even later this evening if you said, what are some things that I haven't been putting on in my identity, my belief about myself, my belief even about my behavior, how I'm behaving. Oh, well, that sounds pushy, or that sounds whatever. If I have a belief about the behavior that we perceive needs to happen, and even we might perceive it needs to happen. Let me put this in a lifestyle goal, which might be, I want to lose 20 pounds or I want to lose 10 pounds. And my belief is that I'm going to have to go to the gym. I'm going to have to work out 5 times a week. I'm going to have to work out for a couple hours. I'm going to have to become a gym rat. Well, so every time I begin to think about today's on your day, I've set aside my time, I've blocked my time, I got my stuff set out, but I have that belief about what that's going to look like. And that does not resonate with who I am.
And it doesn't resonate with your identity.
Because, and this is a whole nother teaching, but I'm just going to give you a quick 2 parts of it, is when we begin to move towards something, our conscious mind will check with our unconscious mind about the check. Does that behavior or action or new thing check with the identity?
I love the illustration. I'm not trying to interrupt. Dennis, I love the illustration here. What he said was the unconscious mind, or the conscious mind sends a message to the unconscious mind. I'm just going to use this because it's right on the front of my head. I am the righteousness of God in Christ. And the subconscious mind goes, I am the righteousness of God in Christ. Is that really in her programs? Is it in her apps? Is it there? And if it's not there, the unconscious says, well, Pucky.
It was a fun illustration. I'm going to turn out of the sun right there.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Oops, sorry, Dana.
Oh.
Sorry, watcher.
Ah!
Make you sick.
I fell over.
So that great illustration of being able to say, my internal is always doing this check with my identity. And there's 2 things that will impact your identity. And one of those is your imagination and your history.
Mm.
And so your history of behaviors and experiences create a series of I am statements. And so as you think about your conclusions out of your history and your behaviors in your history proved either I am this or I am that to you, right? When you think back, oh, well, this experience said I am this and this, and I didn't catch that until the call this morning, is that, oh, that's true. And so these I am statements, so as we begin to imagine ourselves, and the brain doesn't know time, right? It doesn't know past, present, future. So our imagination, even in a future state, to begin to see ourselves
Yes.
as I am, that will also load the bank that the unconscious mind checks for identity. And why visioning and imagining is such a powerful, highly leveraged activity. So when we think of a high payoff activity, if you're not taking time to envision you that you are becoming, you are guaranteed to pull from your past, which
Yes.
may or may not be the history you want to repeat, right? So the other element of imagination and visioning about your identity is that it becomes essential because we already have a vision, whether we realize it or not. Right? There's already a storyline going on about what our future is going to look like. Either we've come at it from our history, or we started a vision process, but we stopped it because of life or whatever. And here's my cough drop. Every benchmark we hit, it's important to revisit and keep blowing out the vision further, bigger, so that we're always moving forward, because there is no there. And we need a vision to replace the old. We need a vision to replace the current vision. And just like your phone, I left my phone over there, but you've got your phone, which we count on, which becomes a second brain to us. Our phones are getting updates and upgrades all the time. And what happens when it starts to operate slowly, it operates, responds slowly, or your apps begin to not work properly? What do? You reset it. You refresh it, you turn it off and turn it back on. So why do we think that this computer, this brain, the second brain, this brain doesn't need exactly the same thing? It needs an upgrade, it needs an update, and it needs a refresh. So I just encourage you, as we begin to think about our identity, what we believe about our identity, what we envision about our future, and the behaviors it's going to take to move toward that. What are some areas that we can say what's true? What do I need to believe to move myself forward toward that goal? And you can just take those 4 areas: in my relationships, in my finance, in my career, and in my personal life, my physical, my health and wellness. What are some things that I need to believe? What do I believe about it? What do I need to believe about it? Let's pause and have some feedback. Let's have some conversation.
Could you
about
repeat those 4 things again, please, Kat?
Relationships,
Relationship.
finance, career, and health and
Personal.
health and wellness.
Yeah.
Personal. Let's have some thoughts about that. What's resonating? Like I mentioned earlier, we're coming at this from a whole lot of backgrounds, a whole lot of day experiences, as well as month experiences. We're here in the first quarter of the year. Some of us have had really clear goals at the beginning of the year, and we're either on track for it or we're not. Or some of us have just kind of going, oh gosh, it's first quarter, I better get on track, or for whatever that is. So let's have some conversation about it. What's crossing your mind?
I'll share for a health goal. Losing weight has never been really exciting for me, but I said it.
Or any of us.
Where does the line start for that?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But I did set a different kind of goal this year, which was more around ability to do certain things that I could do in college. I know it's kind of lofty, but that's actually kept me in the gym. That's kept me working out and pushing me. where I know I had a long since given it up. It had been this kind of nebulous weightlifting goal. Does that make sense?
Well, and you totally illustrates that you put together a vision that resonates with who you see yourself to be.
The
Yeah.
identity part.
Mhm,
Yep.
mhm. Good takeaway. Anyone else have some insight or observation or thoughts about
Kind
it?
of what he was saying, I just looked in my notes again, but talking about your identity being aligned with your vision,
Mhm.
like an example, not wanting to exercise, but I do it anyway because that's my identity. I just do it because I know that's what I do. And like deciding, okay, should I for dinner or lunch or whatever? Well, maybe I'll have this breakfast. No, I'm going to have a shake because that's what I do. That's my identity. And that really struck to me when he was talking about that. And that's kind of the same thing. I know that I can do it, and it makes me want to do it to a vision, like he said, because I don't know, you feel strong about it and you know you can.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
A certainty, I guess.
That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome, Marcia. Anyone else have some thoughts or takeaways or questions about how this applies to an area?
Oh, he's gonna say no.
Yes, Dennis. Go, Dennis.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt.
You're good.
So, hey, a couple of thoughts popped out when you were going through this. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Because I hope you
Yes,
guys
we
can
can.
hear. I might switch to the phone if you can't.
We
Okay.
can hear you.
All right.
Yeah.
You had a trough that showed kind of this unconscious incompetence all the way to unconscious competence. Are you familiar with Seth Godin's 10,000 hours to master something?
I am.
Okay. So the question, and this is something I've seen in my own life, and I tell other people to do the same thing. When I first thought about this is just my own takeaway. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I got to have 10,000 hours of being a prospect or whatever. But I also know that 80% of my skills transfer. So when I was driving a car or whatever, it didn't take me 10,000 hours to master it because I'd been riding a motorcycle, a bicycle. I mean, so there was other things that, so do you see that same thing here, that to become a master and a leader across the board, what it takes to be really good at isogenics is just maybe a little tip here and there in certain areas because we've already got the bulk of that in place? Does that make sense?
It does make sense. It does make sense. Patsy, do you want to answer what your perspective would be?
Dennis, I think you're 100% right. But I know how to take a speaker, a high school speaker, and make them championship material. I've done it. But when I try to coach a team to championship material, there are some skills that are the same. There are also some skills that are different. And I think what happens is we come into the inception exactly like you said. You know, I've been successful. I know this. And then when we begin to try to transfer the skills over, even we were talking, Kathy and my mom and I were talking about it. We get stopped in deception. Our ego gets in the way, and we bottom out in the bottom of the trough because we would never tell somebody I had this contact and it was a mess, or I got out and I just froze and I couldn't talk to anybody. You wouldn't want to tell anybody that. So because of that, yes, we're competent, but how do we climb out? I think what Kathy said earlier is really powerful, and that is the way we climb out is to all apply our skills together, getting out of deception, moving back up the trough.
Good word. Good word.
Yeah.
I have a issue sometimes with the 10,000 hours. I do see that it can take 10,000 hours, but the exact measurement, you know, when that came out, those who needed certainty and needed a number to shoot for, I've been coaching since the early 2000s, actually before that, the late 90s or mid 90s. And I heard that taught, and I began to see people begin tracking how many hours actually, and making that kind of be the mark. You know, if I get my time in and
I'll be there.
presenting, or how many contacts, or almost like I heard you say, you know, if I have 10,000 hours of prospecting. But I want to encourage you, it's a leveraged activity,
Yes.
and it's an inner game. It's an inner game. And more than anything, you know, we practice skills to master skills. You know, you could say, I'm not a great public speaker. You could say, I'm not a good connector. I'm not a good presenter. I'm not a good closer. I'm not a good whatever. The skills that go with those are all skills that can be learned. And so when you say these skills can be learned, but the inner game that says, what's my vision of what it would look like to present authentically? What is my vision of what it would look like to be the leader that was wholly me, that I could show up with me being me and allow others to show up as them? What kind of leader would that look like? Or what would it look like to lead and launch leaders? Leading from behind as a servant leader. What would that look like? And as you begin to unpack each layer of what you think and believe and inside, and when you run into something that's counter to that or contrary to that, to be able to say, is that true? Where did I learn that? And was there something I need to unpack about that experience that would cause me to have a fresh perspective, or reframe that so that I can bring it back over into the light and into truth? Because every one of us is able, and when I say success, to succeed, every one of us is wired to be fully expressed, which to me is success. To be fully expressed in the thing that our heart's desire is, because that's wired into us. And so the enemy of our soul that wants to keep us from being fully expressed, you know, puts little landmines throughout our life to keep us triggered and tripped up. And so one of the things about owning your own business, whether it's a network marketing business, because that's just a machine, think about that's just a machine and a model, whether you were to go open up a retail store, open up a service business, whatever it is, being in business for yourself is the best personal development school. I used to say it's in small print when you begin to pay the bills. This is, you just signed up for the longest, hardest personal development school, because it's going to confront you with everything you believe about yourself. It's going to challenge you with everything you thought you knew. And so I, for one, want to be the leader, and I believe I speak for my mom and my sister. We want to be the leaders that say, you know what, we are a work in process. This is a work in process. We are learning things today that we didn't know yesterday. We are willing and humble enough to say, you know what, we don't even know what we don't know yet. We don't know what we don't know yet. We're even willing to say, we want to lay down what we think we know. We don't have to be the smartest kid in the room. We don't have to. We're willing to lay down what we think we know to learn a new thing, to learn a new perspective, to see something from someone else's point of view. That's a servant leader. It's a servant leader. And I believe we attract servant leaders. And that doesn't mean that we get walked on or are less so that other people are more. It means that we are so comfortable in our own skin that we can turn down the volume on our own strength set so other people show up. Think about that for a minute. If you as a person, put it down to the personhood, which your leadership is involved in your personhood, if you were able to show up and say, you know what, it's okay to be me. It's actually good to be me. When I show up as me, others get to show up as them. There's no threat in other people showing up as themselves. And where there's a rub, somebody shows up as them and you get all, you know, that really offended me or that whatever, instead of having the rub in the way we have in the past, to be able to say, actually, it's okay to be me and it's okay to be them. I need more information. I need to seek to understand Stephen Covey's, you know, famous and top 7 habits of highly effective people. I need to seek to understand. He's on the phone. That's what happened.
Yep.
Sorry, I have a bad connection.
You're good. You'll just have to turn off your mic on one of your devices. So does that resonate? Does that encourage you to say, you know what, wherever you are on the journey, whether you're trying to lose weight, or you're just trying to have a healthy lifestyle that includes healthy relationships and contribution to community and living on purpose, or whether it's actually partnering with the business with sound business practices where you get to show up as you every day. Not that we have to do things to be us, but we get to be us so that we do things and then we get to have stuff, right? Or get to have the thing that we aspire to have. But it does mean we have to show up every day, and we need to be able to look without judgment at ourselves or at others. No judgment. Be able to look at ourselves and say, you know what, I actually set that goal today. And I started with my first contact, and I ran into kind of a little crunchy moment, and I stepped away and I didn't do anymore. No judgment about it. What if I were to look at that? What if I were to coach myself? What if I were to have another fresh chance to do that with no judgment or blame? Where's the skill I need to develop? What's my state of being? How do I need to be? And how do I need to serve and just do the process? And that's when Patsy was talking earlier about embracing the job process, embracing the journey, is falling in love with the activity, falling in love with what you learn, falling in love with every success that you have along the way. Had a great contact, had a great connection, had a great meeting with my family, had a great time with my husband, had a great time with my grandkids, whatever that is, celebrating each win along the way and not making it all a win-lose, a zero-sum game, whether I got every contact closed, whether I got every person to their weight loss goal, realizing that other people have choices in their journey, but that you show up fully authentic every time. Thoughts, observations, takeaways? Darlene, do you want to contribute some things that you took away
Well,
from
just,
the
I mean,
leadership
even
event?
coming back still, I'm still processing everything.
Yeah,
That
me
was a
too.
lot of information.
I know.
Jam-packed in 48 hours, less than 48 hours.
Can you hear that, Dennis? Can you hear Darlene?
But
Yep,
what
I
it's
sure
done
can.
Okay.
is on the vision aspect of it is, you know, because I have this block going on that you know, when we meet, it's all about isogenics. But what it has done for me is I'm taking this as a whole in every aspect of my life. And so the vision is actually bigger than what I visioned.
Yay.
And I'm still trying to process that in my brain. I know my vision. And this morning on the call with Molly, powerful statements are coming out here. And one being to have the vision in every aspect, you know, inspirational, which is big for me in my life, and my personal relationships, whoever I may encounter throughout the day, my financial vision. I mean, and they can change, because my saying has always been, and people that know me, I am tired of going around that same mountain. It's time to climb that mountain, and there is no top. And so it's like they said, there is no there, because we can change that. And that's valuable to me. And that's valuable to share with other people, because before I was stuck in the reframe mode. I really like that too. I really like the reframe, deframe, and preframe.
We didn't unpack that for everyone today.
Okay,
but
well, that's powerful.
that is a powerful.
And I'm still processing that as well. And I already kind of used the deframe, but not in that magnitude. And when you put it in that magnitude, again, words are powerful. It's all in the speaking.
Well, so Darlene, I'm actually going to ask if you are going to be able to be on our Monday call, and if you'll unpack the pre-frame,
I will be on my
frame, the frame.
I'm still working on that. I mean, I've gone back in my module and I have changed my vision like 4 times, because either I'll add to it or no, I'm going to shift this. And then we get deeper into the module, and I don't sit down and do them all at once. I'm doing a segment each night, because that's a lot of information to gather and to try to, the perspective of the sharing of this kind of coaching is absolutely fascinating to me.
Well, and what Darlene's talking about is the online integration part that goes with the weekend.
Yes.
It's also in a smaller scale available to you through that Healthy Mind and Body. It's a similar model, similar platform. And Rod's written a book, Are You Up for the Challenge, as well, that walks you through the exercises. and the models that Rod went through.
People that are up
think
for a
that's
real serious
backwards.
challenge, I really recommend it.
Well, and
I
It came across right.
Oh, good, thanks. But this has been so opening for me and taking me to another level in every aspect of my life. And there's so much room to grow. And hearing it from a different perspective is what I've always said things to be. There was even a lot of validation for me.
Good.
It's like, all right, I know I'm not crazy.
Good.
It's okay to say some things. Sometimes we have to say things that maybe people don't want to hear. But we have to say that. I mean, lifting the rug and shoving things under doesn't work for people. It creates that comfort zone for people to live in and say, I'm okay. And I run to some of my comfort zones that I'm recognizing in myself that I didn't really realize I did. But we all have that. And it's time to put those in another shelf.
That's good.
And so the processing for me, I mean, every day I get up and I go to work and I have this on my brain,
Good.
you know, and I look at the modules and the questions before I go, and then I'm processing that throughout the day. And then I come home and then I read, you know, the intrapersonal and just so much to share.
That's good.
And I really like the values of you're never going to be there. You're going to get closer, but it takes the pressure off of me of feeling like I have to be at a certain level at a certain time.
That's good. That's good.
And so it lets me work at an ease pace. That makes sense?
It does. It does. And I appreciated the phrase you said that you're tired of going around the mountain. And one of the things about that identity that goes around the mountain is there's a belief system about the identity and the vision about having something different and being who you are that will bring breakthrough for that cycle.
And another piece for me was fear.
Yeah.
You know, I've always been taught, don't live in fear. All right, put me on the plane, send me where you're going, I'm going.
Yeah.
But you have to admit, when you're sitting in the airport, there is still that little unsettledness of, what could possibly happen? That's called fear.
And actually, that's a great point, Arlene,
But
because
fear can drive you.
acknowledging fear and seeing what you're in agreement with.
Yeah.
So yes, we are confronted with fear. There is fear in the atmosphere. Rod broke it down to fear of success or fear of failure and kind of unpacks those two. And fear can propel you, but faith and bringing the unseen into the seen will take you further.
And sometimes you may not know what's on the other side of that door.
You don't.
We're not, no. But when you have the faith
That's
to
right.
walk through that door,
That's right.
that's the amazing part.
That's right.
So,
And so really
I like that.
that's such a powerful little nugget even right there. When faced with fear, you get to choose what you're in agreement with. Am I in agreement with fear, and will I bring that with me into whatever this next thing is, whether it's fear of success or fear of failure, which have underlying little elements, or will I choose to put on the mind that is my inherited right through the blood of Jesus, which is the mind of Christ, and we are not given the spirit of fear. We're given the spirit of power, love, and a sound mind, which moves us to faith. I have faith.
Yeah.
I have faith that I am wired to bring the future into the present. I am wired that the desires of my heart will compel me, will propel me, and I am able to come out of agreement with any accusation or judgment because they're not true. They're just this yammering out here. What's true about me, I will dig in and I will pursue till I get to the solid core truth that is my plumb line. And then we're there because we move from being. We move from being to every next thing. We just get to be. We get to be. And then we get to be to move to the next thing. And just like Jim and Kathy Coover, who are the co-founders of Isagenix, and their vision statement is to impact world health and to be larger than Johnson & Johnson. That's a pretty big, hairy goal. And alleviate financial pain, physical and financial pain. And so when you think about how big and what a hairy, audacious goal that is, and how that has propelled and caused them to be able to have people say, are you on the page about impacting world health? How many of you are on the same page about impacting world health? I want to impact my health, and the world needs to be healthier. We can get on the same page with that. Can we get on the same page in terms of impacting or alleviating people's physical and financial pain? Whether I'm the one that stewards this model that allows resources to flow through me to other people, or whether I'm helping other people launch their own models to flow through them, right? And then to be as large as Johnson & Johnson and have that kind of global impact as Johnson & Johnson. And then the benchmarks along the way. What you can call goals or benchmarks. And you're always moving forward. You're always evaluating, always looking at how do I show up? And whether you're partner with Isagenix short-term, long-term, it's just a vehicle. We are whole people moving through our whole lives. So let me ask you as we go away, what I'm going to do, Dennis, is I'm going to turn off the recording so that those who listen don't necessarily have to listen to our discussion. Is everyone okay with that, or does anybody else want anything on the recording for our audience that's going to listen? Well, I want to encourage those of you that are watching the replay. One is to take some notes and think about what is the one thing that you would do that would move you closer toward any one of those 4 areas, the desired state, the desired end state in your financial, in your relationships, in your health and wellness, and in your career path. What's the one thing that you might do or embrace to move the needle forward in your identity, your beliefs, your vision, or your behaviors? And so with that, we'll see you on Monday for our team call.
Trying to show the real quick before we get the recording off, in case anybody wants to look again. There we go.
And thank you all for joining us on the call tonight. Good night, everyone. And we bless you all, and we say, go be more you.